In conversation with Brooke C. Brooke C. is the author of the award-winning series Wimps of the Wild. She lives in the Rocky Mountain where the lack of oxygen and the high altitude makes the wild animals sleepy. So it is safe for her to hike around and study them for her stories. She may not be a total wimp, but she's definitely afraid of sharks, snakes, and chicken, which are really tiny dinosaurs. Brooke C lives with three children, one husband, two dogs, three fish, and one snail named Bob. And on today's episode of Photo Interview, it's my utmost pleasure and joy to have on the show today, Brooke C. How are you doing, Brooke?
Good. Thank you so much, Peter, for having me. It's such a pleasure to talk with
Yeah, it's kind of
other
pleasure
people.
to have you on the show, really. I'm excited.
Yeah,
We're gonna having a conversation around your book.
great. Yeah. Book two actually launches today when we're recording this interview. So I thought this would be a good way to kick off some interest in the book.
Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So, Brooke, could you tell us about your book, GTO Gators, which is a fourth book in a series of the Wimps of the Wild book series? I'd love to ask
Yeah.
you, how does this book come about? What inspired you to write GTO Gators?
So that's a great question. I'll just show the cover here. So this is the first book in this series, and it's an early middle grade kidlit fiction story.
Mm.
I started writing more seriously starting in 2018. I've kind of always wanted to be a writer and have been crafting stories since I was a kid. But in 2018, I was selected for a mentorship with a New York Times bestselling author who helped me craft a couple of my manuscripts I was working on into completed stories that really were in better shape than they were
Mm.
before. At the time, the author, she really liked the concept of Wimps of the Wild. And at that time, I was able to kind of draft the entire book and see it as a series and kind of map out what would
Wow.
happen to the characters in more than just one book.
Oh.
Um, yeah, and so coming up with the idea for Wimps of the Wild, I really love animals personally. I've spent a lot of time with them. I really like learning about them. I really like being out in nature, taking hikes, spending a lot of time outdoors.
Mm.
I'm never bored. If a squirrel runs across the road, I want to look at the squirrel and keep it
Oh.
safe, not just keep going on my way. But I've met a lot of people in my life, and I work as a teacher. I've met a lot of students who are afraid of animals, and I've
Wow.
often found in conversation with them that it's usually because they just don't have the same opportunities to meet animals or learn about
Mm.
them or have people in their lives who maybe had a bad encounter with animals and kind of bring some of their own fear
Mm.
into, the next level. And I felt like that's something that's not really explored all the time for kids, is that it's okay to be afraid of animals. It's okay to think that puppies are cute, but you kind of want the puppy to stay over there, and you don't have to be best friends with it right away. And I wanted to
Mm.
make sure that that was out there in an accessible book that was fun and adventure filled and silly and a bit playful, but still really teaching some of those values around empathy, kindness, and courage for people and for animals at the same time. So that's
Wow.
kind of where Gator Getter started with. I picked an animal to start with that, a lot of people worldwide kind of acknowledge as something you don't want to have, as a pet in your home. So it was very
Interesting.
purposeful, yeah, that I picked a gator, crocodile, some sort of animal with, very sharp teeth that really only wants to eat things.
Wow.
And kind of tell a story where, there's some characters that are pretty terrified, and there's one character who's very brave about animals, but all together they work as one team to rescue some baby animals that get into a bad way.
Wow. That sounds interesting. I love your
Yeah.
answer to the making
Uh,
of this. Sounds quite amazing to me.
Thanks.
And now I'd like to ask you, what really piqued your interest in writing in the genre of children's literature? Why do you choose this
Yes.
category?
Right. So I work as a special education teacher for a
Wow.
while now. And before that, I got an art degree in college and just really have always loved children and working with children. And I love having like organic conversations with my students about what's important to them. And then have a conversation around what we're learning and how that can apply to supporting what they're interested in, and making sure that it's a relationship, not just a one-sided kind of didactic to me telling them what to do. And
Wow.
also working as a special education teacher, I really have to adapt everything I do to meet my students where they are and really try to make sure every student is involved. So taking that to the creative writing process, I think it helps me really see things from different viewpoints and
Mm.
not just push my own agenda, but really try to write things that I hope different readers will get things out of.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just really love kids. I've been babysitting since I was, since a mom, our neighbor would allow me to. So at age 11, I have a bunch of
Oh.
my own. And yeah, I really love being a teacher and working with kids. So it was really kind of simple to just, when I also love writing, to just kind of put the two together.
Interesting. That's
Yeah.
amazing, really. I love the sound of
Mhm.
that. It sounds quite
Yeah.
amazing to me. Then you have the second book in name of
Mhm.
Caution, which is a second
Yeah.
in series. For readers who haven't read that yet, and without giving much information away,
Right.
we have a sneak of what to expect picking up
Yeah.
Caution.
So I'll show you the second cover, which again it just launched
Beautiful.
today, and I'll read you the little back blurb if that's a good
That's
idea.
fine.
That
Yeah.
doesn't give too much. Okay, so Izzy, who's the main character, claims she's willing to do anything to raise money to send 3 cassowary hatchlings back to the wild. But when offered the chance to pet sit, she's not sure if she can do it all alone. And with
Mm.
illegal pet dealers threatening to shut the wild animal sanctuary down, Izzy doesn't have time to wait for Sam to get off his screen or Joey to return from his trip. Instead, she has to head next door to care for her neighbor's pet while avoiding an anti-animal realtor, a ferocious thunderstorm, her fear of heights, and cat's claws.
Wow.
So in book 2, I wanted to continue Izzy, who's one of the 3 characters that the book focuses on. Really wanted to wrap up her story, that in the first book, she really goes from being a wimp of the wild to trying to really be more adventurous with animals. And so
Mm.
this book, she has to do all the same things again on her own. I mean, she faces new challenges, but I really wanted to have Izzy really, really grow into someone who really sees herself as an advocate for animals, who's much more
Interesting.
comfortable with handling them and working with them. And then the plan for the series is we'll leave Izzy as she'll become kind of a background character, and we'll move into 2 of the other characters and kind of get their perspective and see how they grow and learn to be with animals.
Interesting. I love your answer
Yeah.
to that. And I want to make me to ask you, what animals are
Yeah.
you a wimp about seeing in the wild?
So yeah, I do love animals, and I have a healthy respect for a lot of them in the wild. I am definitely afraid of sharks, even though I have not encountered that many in my life. I have an unnatural fear of snakes, although I will hold a snake, I will look at snakes, but if I see one in the wild, I get pretty terrified. And
Mm,
here where I live in the Rocky Mountains, we do have our fair amount of snakes.
wow.
So I try to stay clear. And then the funny one that I think is, I'm very afraid of chickens, always, even as a young person. And
Really?
I have friends who have chickens. I've met lots of chickens, and for some reason, I just feel very unsafe when I'm around chickens. Even though they're not known for, attacking people in vicious ways. Actually, one of my best friends has a whole coop full of chickens, and she'll take me out to see them, and she'll call to them, and they'll come running, and they'll want her to pick them up and pet them and hold them, and I'm like, I'm going to keep my distance and watch over here. So, that's also why I think Wimps is important, that I love animals and I would do things to help a chicken out if it was hurt or, in danger. But otherwise, I'd like to, stay back and just watch from afar.
Well, that reminds me, I have some turkey in my house here. Whenever I'm going to feed them, I love the way they used to come close to me. It will look as if they want
Mhm.
to, attack
Right,
me, but it's always fun. I'm like, excuse me,
right,
shift. Hold on, let me pour the food on your like. It's always fun.
right.
They know that I'm coming to feed them, so they'll be so excited, want to, come close to me, and I love that
Right.
feeling. I love that feeling.
Uh-huh.
It's always fun. And funny enough, I had a news this morning of a university vet doctor who was attacked by a lion in one university. Yeah,
Oh
it's
no.
very
Okay.
sad, really. He went to feed the
Yes.
lion and he forgot to lock the gate. So the lion eventually preyed on him and he died. It's so
Right.
sad. So
Right.
sad. So
That
that's
that is, yeah, very sad. And a healthy respect for wild animals is really important, and definitely something
important.
I try to, yeah, cover in the book. That, like, I'm not advocating for kids to go out and try to feed a lion at any time. I'd very much like them to start with pet sitting their neighbor's cat,
Mm,
with a parent helping out till they get older.
yeah,
So um,
absolutely.
yeah.
That's lovely, really. I love the sound of that. And now, apart from Wimps of the White Book series,
Mhm.
do you have any other works you've authored or maybe currently working on?
Yeah, so I have two other manuscripts that are out on submission with agents and editors, and one is a ecological fantasy about a small
Interesting.
midget ogre in a big world who wants to kind of find the balance that the forest needs as
Mm,
his ogre family kind of destroys more than they build. And I have that out on submission, trying to see if I can get any interest from editors and publishing houses. And then I have another book that I wrote years ago. Its title is Eerie Collector, and it's about a boy who wants to be a taxidermist. So he wants to
mm,
preserve animals for museums. And he goes to the one city in the US that has like bugs and bug parts and animal parts for sale at their magic shops, but he doesn't believe in magic. And it's an adventure story with a little bit of magic, but
mm.
it's also about the love for bugs and plants, and so mixing in a little bit of potions and magic with science
Interesting.
and bugs. So yeah, I
Oh,
have I'm also have in the works a couple other stories that I keep working on with my writing partners, and I also do a lot of flash fiction. I really love the challenge of getting a few prompts and having 24 hours, 48 hours to
wow.
submit a story that meets those needs. I find it really fun and engaging, and a great way to keep like my creative spirit going strong.
Mm. It's amazing, really. I love your sound of this. Sounds quite amazing to me. Sounds quite
Thanks.
amazing to me. It's obviously I've got a lot of amazing works ongoing. Lovely to hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, could you tell us what publishing is like for a published author like yourself?
Mhm.
Are there any challenges you've encountered in the process of writing the book and also ever since it got published?
Mhm. So yeah, for Wimps of the Wild, I went with self-publishing after kind of a long journey. I had the book out on submission to agents and editors,
Yeah,
and I got quite a few champagne rejections saying that this was a really saleable, really relatable, really funny, engaging book, but they didn't have
yeah.
room for it, in their list at the time. And
Application.
after I got like about 7 or 8 of those in a row, I was like, okay, I have something here that, is probably worthwhile and not just something that I think is really great.
Mm,
And I decided to self-publish. And so self-publishing, I think what most of us who've tried it, and even people who've been traditionally published, you have to treat it as a business.
yeah.
And that's an obstacle for, a lot of creative people to wear that other hat of treating it like a business, investing in yourself,
Mm,
making all the choices yourself on should I buy this many copies? Should I get the poster and the flyer? Should
yeah.
all the little things that add up to, marketing your book and getting your book out there. So publishing, it's really a whole nother skill set that more and more, even traditionally published authors, especially if they're first timers or are just a few books out,
Mm,
really have to learn a lot of new skills. So it's not difficult. It just takes time and energy, and it can be really overwhelming. So
Yeah.
I, have given myself targets to hit on how to gauge how the book's doing that I feel like are pretty fair. I didn't go in expecting to be an overnight sensation. I went in thinking I'd really love this book to get into the classroom and be, a book for book reports and do some school visits. And that's where I'm at. I've booked a lot of school visits. I have
Interesting.
engaged with a lot of kids who've read the book. I've had parents write to me. I've had a kid email me his
Wow.
book report that he wrote on the book. To me, that's really
Interesting.
the value in what I'm doing is, really getting the book into kids' hands.
Yeah, that's amazing, really, for parents to, email you that, the kid loves the books. It's an amazing experience. I love the sound of it.
Yeah, yeah, it's very
It's lovely.
rewarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything that you love to share with the viewers about your books that we did not mention in this interview and you'd love the viewers
Mhm.
to know?
Yeah, I think the only thing to really share with people is, everybody says to just keep writing, and it's really
Hmm.
true. Just keep writing.
Yeah,
Um, keep, trusting that you're going to get better at it the more you practice it. And it is a practice.
absolutely.
And if you love it, then it's not really work. I show up at my desk and to write, and a lot of times I'm super frustrated because the words aren't coming out. And then I have days where everything magically happens on the page. So
Yeah.
taking all of that together, not looking at one day in alone, looking at it and making sure that I'm getting joy out of it overall,
Mm.
is really important. So you don't lose sight of that this is supposed to, be something that brings you joy, and something that you find meaningful to do, whether you do it as part-time, full-time, on the weekends as a hobby. I find it really fun, and I love that now kids get to read my books. So that's really,
Yeah.
really wonderful and worth all the effort.
It's amazing, really. I love the sound of it. And now, as a published author, what sort of advice do you have for other writers who are still struggling with publishing a book? What would you advise people in this category?
Right. I think my number one piece of advice is always don't do it alone. Make sure you find strong writing partners, and that takes
Mhm.
time too. I've had a lot through the years, that I've had for different times when my writing was growing. I've had partners now. I've had a couple for 6 years. We've been writing together. We meet like a couple
Interesting.
times a month. We exchange work. It's really, really great to have people that you trust with your work, because it's different than a friendship, right? You're giving them something
Mm,
that you are very, very in love with and very attached to.
yeah,
And you want to make sure that you have taken the time to feel safe enough. Not that they should come back and say, this isn't perfect, you need to fix all this stuff, but feel safe enough that they're coming from a place of integrity, coming back saying,
yeah.
this is great and here's how you can make it better. And that takes time, so don't do it alone. Keep putting yourself out there. There's a lot of different communities to join, to find other great writers, and find your genre, find your people,
Mm,
and keep writing. Yeah.
interesting. I love the sound of it. I love your advice, really. And I'm hopeful that viewers, including myself, would love to utilize it. Yeah. So,
Right,
Brooke,
right.
in case we have some viewers who are currently watching this interview and would love to get
Yeah.
a copy of your books, on what platform are they available on for purchase?
Yeah, so both books are available, virtually anywhere books are sold online. And if you're on Instagram, you can follow along at Brooke C Books. And I have a link in my bio as well. You can go to my website, and there are links there to purchase copies.
Hmm.
And then I'm hoping to set up here soon a signed copy spot for people interested as well who'd like to have like a personalized copy. I haven't
Yeah.
gotten to it yet. But yeah, they're kind of available at all the internationally. I mean, I keep people will send me things. Oh, I was in Germany and your book is here. So they're really available
Interesting.
wherever books are sold online. As far as I understand it, thousands of retailers. So, and if you
Yeah.
have any problems or need the link, I hope people you can Google search for my name, and
Yeah.
I should come up. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities to find the book, and there's even used copies for sale on Amazon if people, need to cut down on costs a little bit. So
Yeah. And I left a link in the discussion part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Brooke C's books directly on Amazon and also on other platform. So thank you so much, Brooke, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. It's awesome having this conversation with you.
thank you so much for doing what you do, and trying to build more community among writers, readers, and all of us. I really appreciate it. I'm really happy to have been here with you and shared this time.
Yeah, it's my pleasure as well. Thank
Okay,
you.
good.